Hi there, this is Cece Zach, and if you've worked your entire life, reached this chapter, which I call the third, and found yourself wondering, now what? Well, you are not alone. Because retirement isn't just about what you're leaving, it's about figuring out who you are now and what you want next. This is the Meaningful Retirement Podcast, where we turn uncertainty into clarity and help you create a life filled with joy, fulfillment, and freedom. So let's get into it. Hi there, listeners. Today, I'm delighted to welcome Cathy Broski to the Meaningful Retirement Podcast. From an early age, Cathy knew she was meant to be an artist. Growing up between St. Louis and a rural Missouri farm, she found joy in creativity, nature, and imagination, passions that continue to shape her life today. For more than 30 years, Cathy has built a successful career as a ceramic artist, teacher, and workshop leader. Her work is rich with symbolism, texture, and stories that reflect both personal growth and human experience. And what I love most about Cathy's journey is that she has found her creativity extends far beyond her art. And through her work with the inner matrix systems, where I got to know Cathy, she has been embraced with a mindfulness and continuousness practice that helps people move beyond fear, live with greater intention, and become their most authentic selves. So in our conversation today, I know Cathy will share insights on creativity, personal transformation, and the lifelong of becoming who she was meant to be. So welcome, Cathy. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. I appreciate it.
Well, let's just jump right into it. And as you and I have been talking about the work that I do around retirement, I would just love to hear your insights around that term retirement and where you are in regards to that.
Well, me-tirement is probably a, a term that I've just been introduced to with you. And at the same time, I'm living my best life doing exactly what I want to do now. I'm not um, in a position where I have to consult anyone else or um, take care of anyone else. So the main concern for me is, am I doing what I need to do for my happiness and also help the people around me explore and be happy and love what they're doing as well? So even though I say I'm not responsible for anyone else, I am really active in my own community and help to promote um, the talents of the people around me, let's say. So,
That's beautiful. It seems like you are focusing on helping others really find their authentic self. But to do that, you got to this place all on your own. And I would love to hear what were some of the catalysts in your life to figure out that this is what you were meant to do and this is how you want to live your life, joyous, fulfilled, and free.
well, I, I don't want to be a commercial for the Inner Matrix, but I was in a horrible state when a friend came to me and said, "Have you read this book?" And I'm like, "No."
Can I
So,
interrupt for a
so
nanosecond? And
certainly,
when you said you were in a horrible state, do you mind telling our listeners what that state was and maybe what you were going
I
through?
certainly back then I had physically hurt my back. I At that point in time I was doing art fairs on the road predominantly for a living, like high end art fairs, like Cherry Creek, the Plaza Art Fair, Sausalito, that caliber. So it was very physical. I had to set up and take down shows. Well, I had hurt my back during that point in time. Also, unbeknownst to me, I was living with someone who was a full-blown alcoholic, but because I was on the road so much, I didn't quite see it in the larger picture, that it really was at the time. So, this friend asked me if I read the book, The Inner Matrix System, and I said no. And then she invited me to a book group. And so then I had to read the book. I wasn't looking forward to reading a self-help book, but
Those
at the same
dang
time,
book clubs, they force you to read the
right,
book.
right. And at the time, I had tried some meditation and I was trying to do yoga and things like that for my back, but there were things in the book that resonated with me wholly. I mean, things I had maybe heard before, but not heard with my heart and soul before. And so I started participating in the meditations that were offered through this system and some other things. And within a year and a half, this horrible back issue that I was dealing with was completely gone. And it had, I think, a lot to do with sitting, meditating, being aware of my body, um, being aware of what I was doing to myself by medicating with things that were just masking and really starting to physically do things for myself to make myself better, which then helped my spiritual self, my mental self. And through a long journey, I started to realize how toxic the relationship was with my husband. And I can blame it on the fact that he was an alcoholic, but it was both of us. And I chose to be in that relationship over and over and over and over again at that time. And through the work that I found through Inner Matrix, I was able to not only take accountability for who I am in every relationship, not just that relationship, but also take accountability for myself in a way that I realized that I'm not responsible for making him healthy. I'm not responsible for making him sober. I wasn't responsible for anything but myself. So I started living my life for me, being responsible for me, and asking him to come along. Please come along. Please be healthy with me. You know, and I just kept asking because that's all you can do in life is ask someone to come along on your journey or to be a part of your life. And over time, it was very evident that he, although said he wanted to be with me, he was incapable of making the decisions to be healthy and to go forward in a life that I needed because I couldn't live like that any longer. So I asked him to leave, and that was probably the hardest decision of my life. And at the same time, I asked him to still continue on a healthy path. And although I can say that he did not necessarily continue on a healthy path at that time, we stayed friends because it was important to me. Because just because I couldn't live with the things he was doing to himself didn't mean that I didn't love him. And so that carried over into my relationship with my mother and my sister and other friends. It's like I will not, let's say, um, m- try to change people in my life to be someone I want them to be. I will be the person I need to be for me. And if they want to come along on that journey and they're willing to not hurt me in their journey, I'm willing to have them in my life. And that's something I would have never done before. I would have stayed in
Wow.
any relationship whatsoever to be in that relationship. And
So
now I
let's
have some
let
of the
let's take a pause because there's so
yes.
much there to unpack.
Sorry.
That's
Sorry.
okay. No, you set the stage beautifully. Um, a couple things just to create context for our listeners. Um, how old were you when you read this book, and how old are you now?
Let's see. I was probably about 45, so 15 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we recognize through what we told us that a lot of your life at that time, um, was being influenced by your husband. It just, the environment, your who you were showing up to be every day. And can you tell us a little bit about the conversation you just had with us around feeling your emotions, feeling your body, letting these awarenesses drive some of the decisions, which you just said the hardest decision you've ever made was to ask your husband to leave. Help us understand what you did, and why you chose to do what you did to get you to the point where you made the hardest decision of your life with your loved one, someone that you loved.
Well, I think part of that was I wasn't asking the right questions when I was in the 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 chaos of it all. And when I cleared my head enough to be able to ask myself, what do I want for my future? What do I want 5 years down the road to look like? What do I want in a relationship? And when I sat down and I looked at what I wanted in a relationship, not, and I was taking my husband off the board just as a clean slate, what would I want in a relationship? He didn't fulfill any of those markers for me, even though I loved him. But we had changed so much. The both of us had changed so much over the years of marriage that when I was honest with myself and knew that he was not going to change for himself or for me, and that I finally understood that I could make choices for myself and not feel selfish about it, but feel healthy about it. And when I got to the point where I could listen to my body, take a moment, breathe, think about what was actually happening in my life and what I wanted to happen. So, the space in life where I was versus the vision I had for my life were two different things. And so I started to live my life in the moment, like thinking and asking myself, will this fulfill my vision? And if it didn't, I needed to maybe move away from that, whatever it was, drinking wine every day, taking ibuprofen instead of like taking a yoga class and strengthening my back or whatever it was. Um, but just pausing and asking those questions really helped me understand who I was in the moment versus who I could be. And who I could be was so much more powerful and happy, joyous than where I was for sure.
Wow, that is unbelievable. If I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that you identified and had the awareness of that space in life that you were in, which I don't want to say an emotion, but I'm just going to say unhappiness at that stage. And then you had the capacity to be able to envision what you wanted that space in life to be, and then you created it. Is that what I'm hearing that you did?
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And, it wasn't like one big, huge leap all at once. It was, I'm in pain over here. I want to be in joy over here. What are some small steps I can take in the moment to alleviate some of that? And so part of that was stopping some things that were causing some of the issue. So I had to be willing to stop some things. And I also had to
Right,
be
because
willing.
can I just interrupt that, if we're gonna add something new into our life, we do it's
Right.
kind of like our wardrobe, right? If you buy something new, you really should be pulling something out of your closet, right. Okay.
Exactly. So in that moment, I had to be willing to stop something, but I also had to be willing to fill that space with something new. And that something new was always, well, I shouldn't say always, because sometimes it wasn't, always something that would take me to my vision, or something I thought that would take me to my vision. So once that new thing was implemented, I would do it for a while. And if it was working out, for the most part, I kept doing it. If it wasn't, I reevaluated things and tried something else. Now, when I say if it didn't work out, I tried something else, I mean like today I tried eating, an avocado and did that fix everything? I am not talking like day to day. I'm talking I tried something for months and then evaluated.
So, would you be willing to give us an example of maybe share with us what your vision is, and what those simple steps that you took daily over months to help you go towards that vision?
Well, I mean, if I if I'm honest, what I'm doing now is completely different than what I did 4 years ago when I asked my husband to leave. So now I have a better handle on what those things actually mean. So when I say something like, I want a stronger body, I will implement maybe healthier food. And that food is actually like listed out. So in the morning when I eat breakfast, I actually track my lunch and my dinner and make sure that they're in with the um, micros that I want to be at that point in time. And then I also have a checklist. Did I take a walk? Did I get the steps in? Did I breathe? Did I, do my internal practice? That kind of thing. So when I am on, the checklist is out, I'm going forward, and it feels great.
That's an awesome, awesome example. Are there, other examples about other areas of your life that you'd be willing to share? Because w w wow, you're so crystal clear in what it is
Sure.
that you're looking for, right? That vision,
Right.
and the amount of clarity you have in the detail of the daily activity that is going to get you there. And you're creating a routine that ends up being muscle memory and does not mean that you're going to have that checklist anymore. And I'm so grateful that you're sharing this, because I'm assuming it's a big pivot from where you were before.
Oh, for
Um,
sure.
yeah, so is there something another example that you can help us with?
Well, I'm thinking in my own life, there's always something going on with my health, so strengthening that and being aware. And there's always something in my career, and there's always something in my personal life or my connection with other people. So I try and concentrate on one thing in each of those areas so that I don't get overwhelmed. And so in my career, um, pardon me, I I'm at a transition because I don't want to work so hard. I want to work smarter. And not only that, I want to share my knowledge with people. I have 35, 40 years worth of knowledge of creating in clay. And so I've always been a teacher and I've always done a few workshops, but now my goal, my vision is to have 6 workshops a year. So in order to do that, um, I have written down to apply to, you know, 2 workshops each month, and in the spring, it was a little bit more. There was like 4 a month that I did. And so, I would write those out, and then as I would contact those workshops, I would mark that off for myself. And not only that, but then as those things started to come into fruition, I could then schedule myself a little bit better. I'm very active in a, a wood kiln in my community, and if anyone knows anything about clay, they know how much work that is. And a wood kiln basically takes a crew of people to load this kiln. It's probably about 20 feet long inside, 6 foot high, 6 foot wide, and over 2,000 pieces of pottery can fit into it. So it takes a village basically. So I'm a lead on this particular kiln that we're doing. It's called Big Magic Anagama, and it's in Kansas. And my best friend built it. And through that alone, um, we spend days loading it, a week firing it, and that community is super, super important to me. So I factor that into my career vision of making sure that I connect with community there and community through my art guild here. And I make sure that I attend certain things. I don't just say I'm going to do them. When I put it on the calendar, it's in writing and I make sure I attend. Those things also are part of that bigger vision for my career. So it is a matter of being accountable, putting it down on paper or on, the calendar, and showing up. Showing up is big. A lot of people write it down, then they don't show up.
That is so true, and it's hard to be accountable to yourself, but it sounds like that you're really finding the ways to do that. Um, if you were to just say at this state in time in your space in life, how would you
Mhm.
describe emotionally how you feel pretty much on a daily basis?
The emotional, well, for the most part, I am feeling joy at a level that I have never felt before. I'm
Wow.
I find joy in things like walking through my kitchen, walking through the backyard to my studio. Um, so joy is huge for me, and such a profound uh, feeling of gratitude. I am grateful for all of the mentors I've had in my life. Um, all of the people that I've been able to impact. It's so amazing when you have a student that comes back in time and tells me how I impacted them, and not necessarily like you taught me how to make this, but you treated me like a human being, or you
Oh.
were so kind, or you gave of yourself in a way that no teacher did. Because I stay after class, I open myself up to questions, I let them come by my own studio. I am an open book and want to be generous in any way that I can to creative people. Well, anybody, but creative people are where it's kind of where I'm in the middle of. So yeah.
What an inspiration you are for anyone that is looking to inspire others. I just, what you have done with your life just seems completely transformational. And where did you get the courage to invest in yourself? Because I find with some of my clients, with people that I'm interacting with, that they don't necessarily wanna invest in themselves, and it's sometimes it's about the time, sometimes it's about being out of their comfort zone and being in fear, sometimes it's financial resources, they're like, "I never invested in myself before financially, why am I gonna do this now?" What what gave you the courage to do all of those things to get you to where you are today?
There was a moment that happened gradually. I say a moment, but it did happen gradually, where I started to understand that I I get to choose.
Yeah.
I get to choose how I want to feel in any given situation. I get to choose how I want to spend my time and who I want to spend it with. And that was a huge turning point for me because, I could say, oh my God, I don't have any money for this. Oh, I'm so poor. Oh, I'll never make money at being an artist because I heard that a million times when I decided that this is what I was going to do for my career. Or I could say, you know what? I'm going to find a way. I'm going to find the right venue for my artwork. I am going to encourage people and then more people will come. I am going to look at an adverse situation and find the positive in it or my path through it or around it. And knowing that I get to choose that, even when I get stuck, even when I have those days where I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so scary. I'm not sure I want to travel all the way to Canada for a workshop. Ooh, that's really scary. It's also like, wow, what an adventure. Let's make this an adventure
Oh, it's
or
so
whatever it might
beautiful.
be. Just switch it, turn it over on its head. Yeah.
Yeah, Kathy, I love how you ended that, just switch it on its head. I think that's how you and I just found each other in such an in-depth conversation at one of the workshops you and I attend for
Right.
mindfulness, um, because I am very curious, and I can tell you are as well. And I don't want any grass to grow underneath me. I want to explore everything, and the things that I like, I want to incorporate in my mind. But like you, one day I woke up and realized it's about me. It's not about living the life that other people think I should be living, because
Exactly.
that's not me. That's not
Right.
me.
Right.
Um, and I'm so grateful for you taking us through the examples of a strong and healthy body, but also the professional side of your life as well, because you are such an inspiration of someone that was unhappy and not living the life they wanted to, and that you have just exploded in another direction. If there was any advice you would give your younger self, do you have anything to share?
Well, first of all, you say exploded, but it's like it happened slowly over time and there would be like a big jump and then like nothing, feeling nothing, and then all of a sudden a huge jump and then feeling like maybe I'm going downhill right now. And maybe that's the advice I'd want to give my younger self. It's just like keep going
Yeah.
forward with vision because the only time that you're failing or losing is when you stop. When you stop moving towards that better, better's the wrong word, that vision for myself. When I stop moving towards that different life, that goal that I want to reach, because it's never going to be perfect. I'm never really going to get there because once I get there, there's always something else going on. It's like when I'm in a workshop and I'm teaching, it's like, okay, what can I also learn from these people? So that's something I never used to think either, or I wasn't aware of. And so now I'm like, okay, what else can I learn? What can I learn not only from myself in a given situation, but the people around me in that given situation? Pay attention. I'm paying attention more to all of my environment, not just me within the environment or the specific thing or person that's impacting me in the moment. So,
Thank you for sharing that, because I think if we could all have the mindset of learning one pearl or recognizing one gift with someone we're interacting with, um, I think the world would be in a much happier or
right.
peaceful state. So thank you for sharing that with us. I mean, there are so many pearls of wisdom in here that I can't even begin to summarize, but I think, Kathy, you have done an extraordinary job of helping us understand that we need to identify where we are in this moment in time and be honest, But for us to make change, we have to envision what is that change going to look like in order for us to start that journey, that slow but sometimes fast journey, one step at a time to get there. Um, and that it is not too late. And the other comment I'll make, only because you and I have learned this through our mindfulness trainers, is that suffering is brought on by us. No matter what circumstance we ever have in this life, suffering happens because me, Cece, I have created suffering. Even though I've had a life quake happen, something bad has happened. But I am learning to create that vision, like you did, Cathy, in order to take me away from suffering and bring me into the joy and the fulfillment and the freedom that I'm looking for in my life. So,
Right. And one of the freeing things for me as far as suffering is concerned is when I'm suffering, I know that I am concentrating, I am focusing on the part of my life that's absent, the part of my life that I want that I don't have, the part of the 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 things that may have brought sadness to me, as opposed to focusing on the joy that I want,
yep.
the gratitude that I have, the space in life that could be beautiful around the people that I have. So once I realize that, I can then get back on the path. Now, that realization might take me a second, it might take me a month. It
Yep.
depends on what's going on. But I always know that when I'm in a funk, now at this point in my life, I know eventually I will be out of it and I will be grateful and joyous again. I just know it's a matter of time and change my point of focus. So
What a
that's
b
where I am.
what a beautiful closing, and, I am at that point now too, that when I'm in a funk that I can redirect, towards where I wanna go and who I wanna be, not what my nervous system is putting me into from a survival perspective, and that's my hope for all of you listeners. You know, transitions are really hard. And Kathy told us about the decision, the hardest decision that she's ever made in her life. But she was able to let go of who she was to figure out who she wanted to be. And that's a really big shift. And so, listeners, if you're feeling uncertain or a little lost, you are not alone. And actually, this is where something new begins because when you understand who you really are, you do create the life of real joy, fulfillment, and freedom. And you don't have to do it alone. So please reach out to me on my website, www.cczack.com. I would love to chat with you. And a big, huge thanks to Kathy taking the time. And goodbye, listeners, for now. Thank you,
Thank
Kathy.
you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.